The vast majority of Morningside students, the vast majority of Morningside residents expect us to build a school out there, a new air-conditioned high school. A lot of them moved to that area with the understanding there would be a high school built, and the Fort Worth Board of Education intends to build it unless prevented by court order. As a matter of fact, we have already added $1 million to the program to take care of rising costs of labor and materials, and to ensure that the high school proposed for the Morningside area is a first-class high school. Although the petition is filled with inaccuracies, it does serve one useful purpose. But because of it, we will be able to resolve the question of whether we will be allowed to build a high school in the Morningside area. And we'll do this at the preliminary design stage instead of when the building is half constructed.
Generally, what were the results that you got? How did they differ from Mr. McKee's survey?
Mr. McKee's survey said that 19% of the students here at Hillcrest were using marijuana. Ours says 15% have tried marijuana.
Do you feel that's a significant difference, the 4%?
I feel it is, because if a student tries to go and find a job and he comes from a school where 1 out of every 5 students is on hard drugs, then his chances are very poor. When I say hard drugs, this is the way it looked like to the general public. Do you or have you taken ever LSD? 3% yes, 97% no. Would you like to try marijuana? Would you like to try LSD? Would you like to try marijuana? Would you like to try LSD if it were safe? Marijuana if it were safe also. The majority of these students said no. When asked if they were curious about it, it was an even 50-50. The next questions: would you like the experience if there were no danger? What are your reasons for doing it, such as to escape reality and for the trip effect? They said no. Have you ever thought about trying? Only 64% of the students said yes. Do you believe the reports that it is bad for you? 80% yes. On the Crime Commission survey, I feel their approach was entirely wrong. Most students, my friends, came up to me and just said it was a farce. There was a friend of mine who was the head of his Methodist Youth Fellowship who answered every question, yes, I do. On our survey, we made sure that the students were answering this correctly. We tried to, at least. We cannot say that they did answer it definitely correctly, but there were traps in the questionnaire, and it was presented in a very serious mood. I don't believe there was any student who would walk out of there and say that he lied.
How has the McKee survey affected the students at Hillcrest?
Many students were very angry when this report came out. Many felt very bad about it. Many had gone downright to using some language about this whole situation. We made sure that students weren't trying to get revenge when they filled out this survey by answering it wrong.
The allegations by the NAACP are not true. The court suit as listed, in which we have a copy, does not state the facts as they now exist. When the first federal court hears again the answers to these untrue allegations, perhaps we can get on with our program by providing quality education for our Morningside community. Apparently, Mr. Davis does not want Morningside to have a high school that is a new, air-conditioned, carpeted, and in the latest educational concept. He, Mr. Davis, apparently wants the Morningside pupils to continue to travel a great distance to attend high school, which is a major factor in causing children to drop out of school in this community. We're trying to meet the needs of this community and its children, and we intend to continue our efforts to provide quality education in Morningside as well as the remainder of our city.
it's been suggested we use paper ballots, but I think this is a step backwards. We will use, the commissioners will make the punch card devices available. They will be used, and the county clerk and the election board this morning, which you saw, I felt like was the most harmonious, at least first meeting, and I think we'll have a good election with the cooperation of the county clerk. The county clerk is the most important one in this, and I would hope that he would assume the responsibility of holding the election on both the device and the machine.
Several people at the meeting this morning expressed concern about the public confidence in the election, and everybody said that they were going to promote the confidence of the election. How can this be done, and what are you going to do about it?
Well, we hope that we can use the devices in the same voting precinct that these people are familiar with, and they have a lot of confidence in this device. We're going to modify the cards to where there are better material in the cards. The counting, where it's been mentioned that a close race cannot be counted, I disagree with this, that we can use a counter and not a computer to count this particular race. Just count two holes, 27 and 28, for instance. And on a regular counter, it doesn't have to be a computer.
Wouldn't this just mass waste together even more so?
No, because again, the biological system shows you that it's just because we are so highly concentrated that we can take care of our waste. The input and output of the human body or anybody, any organism, is so perfect, it's so great that we can not only survive but develop and free our minds somehow.
How and who would decide how the open spaces are to be preserved and used, the ones that surround the cities you talk about?
Well, the city government.
How would you decide overlapping jurisdictions?
Right, see, there are two things you have to keep in mind. One is feasibility, and the other is desirability. If something is desirable, you're going to find the answers. If something is just feasible but not desirable, then it doesn't matter to have the answers. So I'm not here to give you all the answers. I'm suggesting that if what I'm suggesting is desirable, then we have to find the answers.
By traditional news standards, this may not be a very current story, but somehow in this jet age of rush and worry, perhaps it has a place. The story is about a man named Uncle Gus Wilson. He's buried here. According to the legend of which is evolved here in Collin County, Uncle Gus was a strange sort of man. They say he never combed his hair, shaved, or had his picture taken. What he did mostly was parlay a small, poor dirt farm into $1 million. Then he gave it all away. Gus made his money by buying up farmland and railroad stock. For many years, he lived as a virtual recluse. He never married. As far as anybody remembers, he never even went with a girl. But oddly enough, in his declining years, Uncle Gus went on a strange giveaway spree. He started by occasionally giving a tract of land to some struggling young farmer. One day in downtown McKinney, he gave 10 McKinney teenagers $2,000 each for their college education. Within one 3-month period, he gave away 50 automobiles. In his latter years, Uncle Gus' only companion was a mongrel dog named Joe. And when he died in 1935, at age 90, he insisted on being buried in this family plot here, now overgrown by vines, besides Joe. And just as brush and vine have covered the grave of Joe and Uncle Gus, time has dimmed the legend, and a lot of prominent people in and around McKinney seem to have forgotten they got that way because of a start from Gus Wilson. This is Tommy Ayers in McKinney for Channel 8 News.